If you don't let Jake Paul win, he's going to kill you 9 days later. Or just kill your two best friends.
Social media went absolutely crazy when Bryce Mitchell dropped that bombshell livestream where he flat out accused Jake Paul of being behind Anthony Joshua's deadly car crash in Nigeria. Zero evidence backing him up, just pure unfiltered chaos broadcasted to the world. And what came after that accusation is what really sent shockwaves through everything. Here's what actually went down.
So stupid. So stupid. I mean, I just watched what Bryce Mitchell said, and it's honestly pretty embarrassing. And for a grown adult to come out and say this, it's reckless. He's saying that if Jake Paul doesn't win fights, people end up dead. He thinks he's brave for saying this. It's not smart. That's just saying crazy stuff with no proof.
He went further.
What Mitchell said
were losses.
I mean, the guy has clearly lost his marbles. He has some kind of mental health issues for sure. You don't get to hint at murder because of a boxing match. It doesn't make sense. Boxers aren't professional hitmen. It's not. You can't demand that you get a win and then just go whack someone. That's not how it works. That's not real life. Okay? Anthony Joshua was in a serious accident. It's a serious, real situation involving real people, and 2 people, unfortunately, lost their lives.
December 30th, 2025 hit and UFC's Bryce Mitchell uploaded this wild 13-second clip across all his platforms. This dropped exactly 9 days after Anthony Joshua completely destroyed Jake Paul with that 6th-round knockout on December 19th in Miami, posted just 24 hours after Joshua barely made it out alive from that horrific Nigerian car wreck that took 2 of his closest team members.
When you go through trials and tribulations and you come out on the other side, you come stronger, wiser, and you learn as you get older. I'm not the same person I was when I was 15, 25. I'm a 36-year-old man now, so I'm a lot more seasoned. And in terms of religion, we're all one under God's eyes. And I pray, that everyone sees that same way that I do. And I just keep God by my side, really. And that's it. I'm in a good place.
Mitchell filmed this thing inside somewhere, rocking an orange jacket and glasses, staring dead into that camera. No backup, no explanation, zero hesitation whatsoever.
This is, the Giants versus the Patriots 2007. I mean, the list goes on, but the odds are stacked against me. There's no sporting teams in history that have gone together where it's this big of a difference in terms of skill, experience, resume, height, weight, etc. So this is going to be the biggest upset in the history of sports, and you guys get to witness it, and I get to witness it, and thank God. God is guiding me, Jesus is guiding me, and it's all in His glory and their name. So, this is just a special moment that we all get to be a part of. Amen.
That crash went down December 29th, 2025, right around 11 in the morning, local time. Joshua was riding passenger in this black Lexus SUV cruising the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Ogun State, Nigeria. Everything went sideways when their driver tried passing another car way too fast and slammed straight into a parked truck.
Look, that guy did great for someone who's been boxing for like less than a decade. He has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
I don't even remember what happened in the Tommy Fury
He lost a close decision, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight, though. He's a good boxer. If he wasn't a YouTuber, people would be way more impressed with him.
2 guys got killed instantly at that scene. Sinagami and Latif Adeli, both just 36 years old. These weren't random people either. They'd been rolling with Joshua's crew for more than 10 years. Gami was handling Joshua's strength and conditioning work. Ideli was his personal trainer. Both of them had just finished getting Joshua ready for that Paul fight in Miami weeks before this happened.
This sport has helped me so much in my life. I think my jaw is broken, by the way, so it's definitely broke. But, man, that was good. Nice little ass whooping from one of the best to ever do it. So I love this shit, and I'm going to come back and get a world championship belt at some point.
Are you surprised you went 6 rounds with the former 2-time unified heavyweight champion?
Honestly, I'm not surprised. I just got tired.
Joshua walked away with some cuts and bruises. They rushed him to this medical spot in Lagos just to make sure everything was good. Nigeria's Federal Road Safety Corps jumped on investigating this whole situation. Their early findings pointed straight at excessive speed and that dangerous overtaking move as the main reasons this tragedy occurred.
Don't do this very long. because there's a price that you pay that is not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. And that price is depression, deep depression, a severe brain imbalance that's going to lead you to addiction. It leads so many people to impulsive behavior. So many people become gambling addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics after their fighting career.
Yeah.
It's you could only take so much. And at a certain, like that one that he got from Joshua, say if you have like a punch card, you have like so many punches that you can get in your life, which I believe you do.
Some initial reports threw around talk of a tire blowout, but investigators found absolutely nothing suggesting any foul play went down. No criminal case got open. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu personally reached out to Joshua in that hospital and publicly honored those victims while sending condolences to their families.
So as far as I'm aware, what actually happened was that the driver was undertaking and trying to get ahead of the vehicle ahead, and in the process crashed into a stationary truck. So this is on a highway in Lagos, and they were heading towards a nearby village to visit some of AJ's relatives.
Jake Paul actually posted something respectful on X about this crash. Life matters way more than boxing. Sending prayers for those lost lives, AJ, and everyone affected by this terrible accident.
Evacuated, but it's because they obviously don't have the capacity for those emergency services to arrive so quickly. From what I've heard and read, he's now been, brought back to the UK.
Oh, is he back?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that is from my understanding.
The fact that he was able to fly suggests that the injuries may not have been too bad.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in a physically conditioned to fly, then they won't let you fly.
Then Mitchell dropped his video bomb.
My heart goes out to him. And the mental and the trauma and all that, he's going to be reliving that, because not only did he lose his two friends, he was actually there. He survived that, so there's going to be all the survivor's guilt that comes with that as well. Then there's a processing of how it all happened, reliving it. Going to bed at night, that will be playing through his mind all the time.
But he didn't just stop at pointing fingers at Jake Paul for orchestrating this crash. Dude expanded his whole attack to drag Logan Paul into it too, calling both brothers total hypocrites who claim they love Jesus but post inappropriate content constantly, started accusing them of calling him racist and evil, then claimed both Paul brothers were fixing their fights and that Joshua refused to take a dive in that December 19th fight, even with massive money being thrown around.
You don't know how this is going to affect him going forward. I mean, obviously time does heal. I mean, I've been there. I've suffered personal tragedy very, very close to me, and it takes you a long time to get over it. So I just hope he's going to be all right. I mean, forget about the boxing for 1 minute. Some people are suggesting he may never box again. Some people are saying that he may use this as a way to get over this and maybe try and win a world title and dedicate it to the people that was affected. You just don't know how it's going to play out.
This video exploded instantly across the internet. Combat sports media called these claims absolutely outrageous and disturbing. Social media users started calling Mitchell brain dead, wondering if CTE was messing with his thinking. Demands for UFC to step in completely flooded X. One content creator summed up what everyone was thinking when he called Mitchell's statement embarrassing and completely reckless for any grown person to make.
I think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own
here's the good stuff.
my public education or hailing the Nazis. I really don't think that he was, because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research.
People started seriously questioning Mitchell's mental condition and pointing out that boxers don't just become hired killers who eliminate people.
Fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids.
Gaying it up, baby.
Queering out the women. They were
queering them out.
The dudes. They were. You know what her first tranny surgery ever was?
Germany. I'm calling it right here, right now, Germany.
Happened to be in Germany.
Yeah.
Hitler took over. You know the books that everybody makes fun of Hitler burning? You know what the books was?
Here's why the timing made everything so toxic. You had this boxer who just scored the biggest win of his career in years. Two of his closest friends died just days afterward. And this UFC fighter with a track record of conspiracy nonsense decided to publicly connect these events.
Where does Bryce Mitchell go from here? Because Dana White can't sack him, can't kick him out of the UFC because Dana White's such a big pro free speech. So he's got himself into a bit of
This wasn't Mitchell's debut controversy, not even close to his most extreme statement. but this marked his most direct accusation against someone famous in connection with actual human deaths.
After seeing the Jake Paul accusation video,
I mean, the guy has clearly lost his marbles. He has some kind of mental health issues for sure. You don't get to hint at murder because of a boxing match. It doesn't make sense.
whether driven by
To really understand why Mitchell threw out these accusations, we need to look at what happened 9 days before in Miami, the fight that supposedly set off this alleged revenge plot.
Anthony Joshua was in a serious accident. It's a serious, real situation involving real people, and 2 people, unfortunately, lost their lives. So, for Bryce Mitchell to come out here and make a conspiracy of it, it's crazy. Turning it into a conspiracy, it's like he's on the internet at 3 in the morning just like surfing conspiracy theories and just randomly came up with this.
The fight that started everything.
Whatever you think of Jake Paul, surely that now puts an end to the fixed fight narrative. Like, his mouth is in bits. This was not a fixed fight. No matter how much you dislike it, it was what it was.
This clash between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua on December 19th, 2025 represented everything people either loved or hated about modern boxing. You had this YouTube star with a 12-1 record stepping up against a 2-time unified heavyweight champion packing Olympic gold and 26 knockouts across 29 victories.
I think for me now, I just want to see Jake Paul in a fucking competitive fight. And that's the problem with the direction he's been going in, is he puts on big fights, but not competitive fights. Fighting Chavez Jr., that was an easy win. Nate Diaz, an easy win. Mike Tyson, an easy win. Anthony Joshua, not competitive for the opposite reason. He's completely not expected to win, and it wasn't competitive.
for me.
The promotional machine treated this like boxing's ultimate existential battle. Paul marketed himself as the guy shaking up all the traditional gatekeepers. Joshua stepped into his role as the pure champion, whose job was ending what tons of people saw as a complete circus that had invaded their beloved sport. Netflix grabbed exclusive streaming rights, continuing their aggressive push into live combat sports after that Paul Tyson event earlier that year. Projections estimated over 60 million households would tune in worldwide. Miami's Kaseya Center sold out completely with tickets starting at $50. Betting lines overwhelmingly favored Joshua. He opened as a -1,000 favorite at major sports books, which meant you'd have to risk $1,000 just to win 100. Paul sat between +700 and +1100 as the massive underdog, giving him roughly 10 to 15% chance of pulling this off. But here's the crazy part. 83% of bets at DraftKings landed on Paul, with casual fans chasing that huge potential payout. Critics were already calling this a complete mismatch before anyone threw a punch. Joshua stood 6'6" with an 82-inch reach compared to Paul's 6'1" frame and 76-inch reach. Joshua had battled elite heavyweights like Vladimir Klitschko, Alexander Usyk, and Francis Ngannou. Paul built his record mostly fighting aging legends and MMA guys crossing over to boxing. At that final press conference, Joshua talked about his mental state, describing himself as this seasoned 36-year-old who had grown through all kinds of trials and challenges. Paul kept that signature confidence going despite those odds, comparing this fight to the greatest upsets in sports history. When that opening bell rang, Paul went with this evasion strategy that frustrated both Joshua and everyone watching, constantly circling along those ropes, grabbing Joshua in clinches whenever he got close, occasionally dropping to his knees in movements that looked more like attempted wrestling, takedowns than actual boxing technique. Commentary team ripped his tactics apart, referee kept issuing warning, crowd got restless as hell. Joshua stayed patient through those early rounds, using his jab to control distance while eating Paul's occasional shots. That size advantage became more obvious as rounds kept going. Joshua's body work steadily broke Paul down. Round 5 changed everything. Joshua scored 2 knockdowns. First one came from a body shot uppercut combo, second from a quick 1-2 sequence. Paul survived but looked seriously damaged. Judges gave that round 10-7 to Joshua. Round 6 finished it. Joshua opened with heavy combinations, dropping Paul twice more before ending him with a straight right hand followed by a left-right combination at 1:31 of the round. Referee stopped everything as Paul tried getting back up. Joe Rogan acknowledged on his podcast that Paul performed pretty well for someone with less than 10 years boxing experience and basically no real professional opponents besides Tommy Fury. Those official scorecards showed Paul got completely shut out. All 3 judges had Joshua winning 60-50 when they stopped it, taking every single completed round, including that 10-7 fifth. Paul's post-fight claim about winning 2 rounds completely completely contradicted what the judges actually scored. The damage went way beyond numbers on a scorecard. Joshua's final right hand broke Paul's jaw in 2 places. Paul needed surgery with titanium plates and screws. Multiple teeth got removed. His jaw stayed wired shut for weeks. After that fight, Paul addressed his injuries head-on, admitting his jaw was broken while still calling the experience worthwhile. Rogan delivered this stark warning about what continued fighting could mean for Paul's long-term health, talking about depression, addiction, and brain damage as common results for fighters who absorb too much punishment. Estimated payouts reflected just how massive this spectacle was. Regardless of who won, Paul reportedly banked around $40 to $50 million while Joshua took home approximately $90 million. This fight reinforced Paul's model of high-reward spectacle-driven contests, even when he lost. Joshua used his post-fight interview to call out Tyson Fury for a potential 2026 showdown, cementing his return to heavyweight relevance after those setbacks against Usyk and Dubois. Paul promised to return once he healed up, targeting a cruiserweight world title. 9 days later, Joshua flew to Nigeria to visit family and celebrate his victory, a trip that would end in absolute tragedy on one of Africa's most dangerous highways, the Nigerian tragedy. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway handles some of Africa's heaviest traffic, connects Nigeria's commercial capital to its second biggest city across roughly 27 kilometers of road. Federal Road Safety Corps recorded 75 crashes on just this single highway during the first quarter of 2025, resulting in 73 deaths and countless injuries. Anthony Joshua was traveling this road December 29, 2025, heading towards Sagamu to visit family. His British-Nigerian heritage connects to the Yoruba people, with ancestral roots in Ogun State. He's got that prominent tattoo of the African continent on his right shoulder, highlighting Nigeria. Spent part of his childhood there, attending Mayflower School in Ikene before returning to the UK at 12 years old. Just hours before this crash happened, Joshua posted an Instagram story showing him and Latifi Adeli playing table tennis together. That black Lexus SUV was carrying 5 people total. Joshua sat in the back behind the driver. Sina Gami and Latifi Adeli were in the seats that took direct impact when their vehicle slammed into that stationary red Sino truck parked roadside. The Boxing Podcast broke down what investigators figured out. Their driver was trying to pass another vehicle when the collision happened. FRSC arrived within minutes. They discovered 2 men dead at the scene. 1 passenger had minor injuries, and 2 people walked away unhurt. The destroyed SUV showed devastating front-end damage. Authorities transported the deceased to Leavewell Hospital morgue in Sagamu. These victims represented way more than just professional connections. Sina Gami had been Joshua's strength and conditioning coach for over 10 years, specializing in injury rehabilitation and sports performance. He co-founded Evolve Gym in London and traveled with Joshua to Miami for that Paul fight preparation just weeks before. Latifi Adeli worked as Joshua's personal trainer since his early career days. Before moving into fitness, he played semi-professional football in England for clubs like Aylesbury United and Tooting and Mitchin United. He converted to Islam back in 2012, calling it his biggest blessing. Both men were just 36 years old. The podcast host talked about Joshua's evacuation from the scene, noting that his ability to fly back to the UK suggested his physical injuries weren't too serious. He was sitting upright in that police vehicle. But physical injuries only tell part of this story. The host reflected on the psychological trauma Joshua would be carrying. That survivor's guilt, constantly replaying events, knowing he lived while friends sitting right beside him didn't make it. Eddie Hearn, Joshua's promoter at Matchroom Boxing, released a statement calling Gami and Ayadele 2 great men and urged privacy for the grieving families. Fellow boxers, including Chris Eubank Jr., mourned them as genuinely good people and fallen soldiers. President Tinubu's public acknowledgement of the victims carried serious weight in Nigeria. I have spoken with AJ to personally express my condolences over the passing of his 2 close associates, Kevin Latifi Adeli and Sina Gami. This immense tragedy casts a deep shadow on this season. I sympathize with you and your family as you bear the emotional weight of this unfortunate incident. This crash brought renewed attention to Nigeria's road safety crisis. FRSC data showed over 5,421 deaths and 9,570 accidents nationwide in 2024, with excessive speed and wrongful overtaking as the leading causes. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway earned its reputation as the country's deadliest through consistent carnage. Over 45 fatalities recorded across a 27-month period. Speculation about Joshua's boxing future started immediately. The host questioned whether he'd ever compete again after such trauma, or whether he might channel his grief into future victory. Into this atmosphere of mourning and uncertainty, Mitchell injected his conspiracy theory. While families grieved and a boxer processed survivors' guilt, this UFC fighter with a documented history of extreme statements decided to blame Jake Paul. But this wasn't Mitchell's first time making headlines for all the wrong reasons. His pattern of controversy goes back years. The man making accusations, Bryce Mitchell, entered the UFC through The Ultimate Fighter undefeated back in 2018. This Arkansas native built his reputation on elite grappling, including that rare twister submission against Matt Sales that put him among the select few fighters to execute that technique in UFC competition. His career record sits at 18-4 as of late 2025. His fighting accomplishments matter way less than his pattern of controversy, though. Mitchell has spent years building this persona that mixes combat sports with conspiracy theories, religious fundamentalism, and inflammatory statements that consistently generate backlash. He believes the Earth is flat. He's challenged Joe Rogan to debates on this topic, claims gravity is a hoax, promotes anti-vaccine views, connecting them to government control and various health conditions. He homeschools his son to avoid what he sees as indoctrination in public schools. January 2025, Mitchell's podcast Arkansas Sanity aired what became his most notorious episode. On camera, he stated that based on his own research, he believed Hitler was actually a good guy. He went deeper into his reasoning, claiming Hitler fought for his country and wanted to purify it by removing Jews and burning books about homosexuality. UFC CEO Dana White responded publicly, calling Mitchell's statements dumb, ignorant, and beyond disgusting. However, White cited free speech principles and declined to discipline Mitchell, suggesting fans could watch him get his ass whooped in the octagon instead. Mitchell posted an apology on Instagram, clarifying he is definitely not a Nazi. Then in December 2025, around Christmas, he reaffirmed having no regrets about those statements, calling his intelligence a curse. The commentator highlighted the awkward position Dana White found himself in, unable to fire Mitchell despite the outrage because of his public commitment to free speech. Mitchell maintains close ties with Jake Shields, a former UFC fighter turned far-right commentator. The two train together, appear on each other's podcasts, and publicly support one another through various controversies. Shields defended Mitchell after Dana White's criticism and shares similar views on conspiracy theories, vaccines, and mainstream narratives. Mitchell's recent fighting career shows mixed results. He suffered a first-round knockout loss to Josh Emmett at UFC 296 in December 2023, and a second-round submission loss to Iljaz Salikov at UFC 314 in April 2025. He bounced back with a unanimous decision victory over Saeed Nurmagomedov on July 26, 2025, surviving an early knockdown to grind out a win through grappling control. Some observers speculate about CTE influencing Mitchell's increasingly erratic public statements. Research from Boston University shows over 90% of examined former NFL players had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, with similar findings emerging in boxing and MMA. Symptoms include impulsivity, paranoia, mood swings, and delusional thinking. One commentator directly questioned Mitchell's mental state. Whether it's CTE, genuine belief in conspiracy theories, or calculated controversy for attention, Mitchell's accusation against Jake Paul represented his most legally risky statement. Previous comments about Hitler, flat earth, and vaccines generated backlash but targeted abstractions or historical figures. The car crash video accused a living public figure of orchestrating deaths. The question now becomes what consequences Mitchell will face, and what his accusations mean for everyone involved in this situation. What happens next? The legal framework around Mitchell's accusation creates genuine exposure. By implying Jake Paul orchestrated fatal violence as retaliation for a boxing loss, Mitchell potentially committed defamation per se, false statements that harm reputation without requiring proof of damages, because they allege criminal conduct. Paul's team had already signaled willingness to pursue legal action. Following the Joshua fight, Paul announced he was pursuing legal action against critics, claiming the bout was rigged, pointing to his broken jaw as proof of authenticity. Mitchell's accusations escalate beyond fight-fixing claims into territory alleging murder. For a defamation case to succeed, Paul would need to demonstrate Mitchell's statements were false, made with actual malice or reckless disregard for truth, and caused harm to his reputation. The complete absence of evidence supporting Mitchell's claims strengthens any potential case. Nigerian authorities attributed the crash to road conditions and driver error. No investigation into foul play was opened. No evidence connected Paul to any aspect of the incident. The ethical dimensions extend beyond legal risk. 2 men died. Their families are grieving. Joshua watched friends die in a crash. He survived. Mitchell weaponized this tragedy for social media engagement without concern for the human cost of his words. One commentator captured the frustration shared across the combat sports community, calling out Mitchell for turning a real tragedy involving real deaths into conspiracy content. Calls for USC discipline intensified after the video's release. Fans argued the promotion had tolerated too many of Mitchell's inflammatory statements without consequence. Others noted the USC's historical reluctance to police fighter speech outside criminal conduct. This incident illuminates broader issues within combat sports. Conspiracy theories have permeated the industry for decades, from fixed fight allegations dating to boxing's earliest days to modern claims about Paul's opponents. The intersection of celebrity influence, massive paydays, and social media amplification creates perfect conditions for speculation, regardless of evidence. Jake Paul himself exists at the center of this ecosystem. His career generates controversy by design. Critics have accused him of cherry-picking opponents since his first professional fight. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping called him a coward for targeting aging legends and undersized opponents. These legitimate criticisms about matchmaking get mixed up with baseless conspiracy theories about scripted outcomes. The fixed fight narrative persisted even after Joshua's dominant victory. One content creator pointed to Paul's shattered jaw as definitive proof that the fight was real, arguing the injury should end any rigging speculation. Mitchell's accusations represent the extreme endpoint of this speculation. When any negative outcome can be attributed to conspiracy, evidence becomes irrelevant. 2 men die in a car crash caused by road conditions, and it becomes assassination. A boxer loses because his opponent outweighed him by nearly 50 pounds, and it becomes proof that someone will die if he doesn't win. The MMA boxing crossover era amplified these dynamics. Paul's model of fighting spectacles over competitive matchups generates engagement but also skepticism. Every mismatch, whether favorable or unfavorable to Paul, fuels theories about authenticity. His Netflix deal brought combat sports to audiences unfamiliar with the sport's norms, creating new generations of fans and critics simultaneously. One content creator articulated what many fans want to see going forward: competitive fights that actually test Paul's abilities rather than spectacles stacked heavily in either direction. For Mitchell, the aftermath remains uncertain. The UFC has shown no indication of punishment despite the controversy. His pattern suggests he may double down on the accusations or pivot to new provocations entirely. His association with fringe figures like Jake Shields provides an echo chamber that reinforces rather than challenges his views. For Joshua, recovery extends beyond physical injuries. The emotional toll of losing friends who had been with him for over a decade, of surviving a crash that killed people sitting beside him, defies easy processing. His boxing future remains unclear, with talk of a 2026 Tyson Fury fight now overshadowed by questions about whether he will or should return to competition. For Paul, the incident adds another chapter to a career defined by controversy. He recovers from a broken jaw while facing baseless murder accusations from a UFC fighter he has never met. His response? Prayers for the victims rather than engagement with Mitchell's claims represented unusual restraint for someone who built his brand on feuds. The families of Sina Gami and Latifi Adeli received the cruelest treatment of all. Their grief became content for a conspiracy theory. Their loved ones' deaths became evidence for an accusation with no foundation in reality. The machinery of social media engagement transformed tragedy into controversy without pause for basic human decency. Combat sports will continue generating conspiracy theories. Jake Paul will continue generating controversy. Bryce Mitchell will likely continue making inflammatory statements. The question is, what accountability, if any, exists when speculation crosses into accusation and tragedy becomes content? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, click on one of those videos on your screen to check out more similar content.